All right, YouTube. Trump and his team have announced the possibility that CIA black sites will come back into use. I oppose this move. I don't know exactly what the reasoning would be behind wanting to reinstate something that arguably did nothing to keep this nation safer. One thing is these black sites, as they're called, sort of unmarked locations where the CIA tortures people that operate outside of any real international law. They involve foreign combatants. They don't involve U.S. citizens. So the constitutional question only comes in on the sidelines, really. What you're really talking about is international law or morality or pragmatism, and that's really the argument that I use. There's no evidence that these sites ever gave us any significant info. I like to believe, I am one of those that think, that when the U.S. decides to torture people, whether you classify all of its methodologies as torture or not, waterboarding, is it torture, is it not torture, whatever it happens to be, sensory deprivation, long-term withdrawal into a solitary confinement sort of thing, blasting, music at people. Generally, Justin Bieber. Yeah, I think that anyone would crack under that amount of psychological pressure. Regardless, what happens at these sites is torture is used to extract information from combatants or suspected combatants. I like to believe that when we do that, though, we essentially give a green light to our enemies to hold and torture our citizens. So you have like some U.S. tourist gets captured, they get tortured. U.S. soldier gets captured, they get tortured, and so forth. So I generally oppose the idea of using it. There's no evidence that it does anything good, and there's plenty of reason to believe that it could at least do things that are bad to our nation. So it's also an unnecessary expenditure. And what I think should happen, if somebody's a foreign combatant, just air them out, kill them. If you catch them in combat, if they're firing at our troops, don't bother trying to take them alive unless they're a high-value asset. And if they are, put them through the actual court system. Put them through a military tribunal. Again, they're not a citizen, so their rights are different under that sort of a thing. Put them through a tribunal. Try to get what information you can out of them, preferably without torturing them. To turn them over to the CIA is generally a terrible idea. The CIA and similar groups have been involved in the past with all sorts of shady stuff. I don't trust them to keep this nation safe because they've offered no evidence that they do so. There's more evidence that they fly helicopters full of coke bricks across the border in cereal boxes than that they've ever done anything specifically helpful to this nation beyond maybe acquiring some foreign scientists or something like that to work on U.S. weapons programs. As such, I can't support such a thing. I would oppose Trump on this. I think it's a bad idea. I think it sends the wrong signals to our population. It sends the wrong signals to our allies and to our enemies. What it says to the domestic population is our government is greedy for power. It wants more power. Doesn't really care about human rights, and the only thing keeping it from torturing you too is the fact that you still have guns, essentially. So that's a fairly poor precedent to set. The second problem, as far as our allies go, most of our allies do not use such methods, frown upon such methodology quite deeply, and it could alienate us from them. I think that's something we don't need to be doing at this point in human history, let's face it. As far as our enemies go, again, whether it's a state actor or a non-state actor, it sort of gives them a precedent to hold and torture our citizens, because they can use the same sort of legalese explanation. Oh, well, they're not a citizen of our country. They have no protection. Foreign combatant, we consider them the same. And there's not much we can do. In some cases, these states are under the wing of another nuclear state, like Iran. Some U.S. tourist gets picked up. They cross the Iranian border accidentally, like in Afghanistan or something, or Pakistan or something. They cross the border. They get picked up by Iranian troops. They get held for years. They probably end up killed. Probably end up tortured. They're like, oh, what were you doing here? You must be an espionage agent. And that's sort of the reasoning that's being used by like the CIA. I disagree with that deeply. I think it's a poor precedent. I think it's a bad idea. I don't think that it helps our nation at all. If it were helpful, you could make more of an argument for it. You'd say, yeah, human rights, but at the same time, got to win this struggle. But when there's no evidence that there's any pragmatic reason to use it, in addition to the human rights argument, the possible sidelined constitutional argument, And the budgetary argument of, oh, well, how much does it even cost to run these sites? Since they have to be so secretive, you have staff there and so forth, security. I think all things boil down to it's generally a bad idea. So I do not support Donald Trump on the possibility of bringing back the CIA black sites. I can't support it. I think it is a poor idea from basically any angle that you look at it, and it makes us look more totalitarian. And the United States has been more and more totalitarian anyways over time. It's about time we get smart about these things. Mass surveillance doesn't work. Torture doesn't work. These black sites don't work. None of the stuff that we're doing largely works. It's better to preserve our liberty, be a beacon of freedom, and thus many people who are pissed off at us now, they won't have really a reason to. We can keep to ourselves. We got all the resources we need. We got plenty of military hardware. We've got plenty of allies, but we're going to piss all of that away if we keep on the course that we're going. My hope is that Trump will come to his senses on this. He'll decide against bringing back these black sites. I hope as well, on the same token, that he does away with much of the mass surveillance apparatus used here at home, and in fact in Europe as well. Because it's pointless. It doesn't do anything to actually safeguard our nation. It certainly doesn't make us more free, and it costs a lot of money. It's pointless. The whole NSA is pointless at this point. That's about all. Peace out.